Managing a small team or business comes with a unique set of challenges. With limited resources and manpower, it's easy for things to feel chaotic and out of your control. How can you, as a leader, accomplish your goals while keeping your team engaged, effective, and accountable? This podcast will give you practical strategies you can implement now to lead your team or business to reach its fullest potential. Welcome to the Organizing Chaos podcast with your host, Danny Coleman.
Hello, thanks so much for tuning in. My name is Danny Coleman. I am a small business consultant located here in Columbia, Tennessee. This podcast here, filmed in my humble office, is going to be my attempt to do what I can to help small business owners like yourself, maybe, or small team managers to solve some problems that are common to small businesses, specifically as it relates to vision, operations, and tools. So a little bit about myself. I've been working for small businesses as an employee for over 10 years. I've had a few corporate jobs. It just really wasn't my style. My heart beats for the small business. I love the fact that I can affect change, much more quickly in a small business. I love the fact that it supplies, the jobs that it does to the local areas these small businesses are a part of. So many people place so much importance on large employers and stuff like that, and of course they're important. But small business owners are the ones who are giving those jobs, to the younger kids, in their first jobs, or the long time employee who's been there for a long time. I mean, these small businesses are, in my opinion, the heartbeat of our economy, and so I love working with them and helping them solve big problems. So I think that I probably would start off with my first real job. I was working for my father-in-law. I worked for him for about 4 years in his painting business. And when I was working with him, I just fell in love with small business. I was previously going to be a major in secondary education. I wanted to teach high school English. And instead, while I was in school, I realized how much I just loved what I was doing with my father-in-law and helping him manage his small business. So that love grew into just an affinity to work with as many small businesses as I can. And so my goal was to become a small business consultant and work with multiple small businesses because I enjoyed so much helping small businesses solve problems. How many times have I said small business? I love helping them solve problems, but as an employee, but I would find myself eventually kind of getting tired of, maybe resolving the same problems over and over again, or maybe not being the owner, so I couldn't make final changes and things like that. And I wanted to kind of get some variety, so I was like, what would be great if I could consult with multiple small businesses. That way I can still enjoy and get the enjoyment out of helping them solve their problems, small business owners solve their problems, but I could also get to have some variety in the work that I did, so that I was not working with the same types of problems and the same teams over and over and over again. And so that's how I started doing what I'm doing now. And I don't really know anyone who's doing, exactly what I'm doing. I'm trying to target 2 to 25 employee businesses. So really focusing on the small ones. And that's where I feel like I can bring the most value. So that's a little bit about my history. I've worked with real estate agents, real estate teams, landscapers, optometrists, painters, builders, you name it. If it's a small business, I probably worked with, I won't say all of them, but I've worked with a lot, worked with a variety. And what I've noticed is just that there are actually a lot of problems that have common solutions. We all have the tendency to kind of get our heads stuck too much inside of, my business is so unique, that would never work in my business, or we could never do something like that, or we could never afford that. And I believe that people are wrong on a lot of those things, and not willfully, but that they simply need someone to kind of help show, that this is practical, or this is something that we can do. And then that's what I want to try to help bring to the table. I want to help small business owners see that there are a lot of big business ideas that are available to them, specifically big business ideas that are available to them now because of the advent of the internet. And that levels the playing field a lot in terms of what you can do. Things like marketing automation, that's something that a small business, oftentimes there's no marketing efforts at all going on, or if there are, Maybe it's just it's a random email blast or something, along those lines, or they put flyers out on car windows and things like that. The automation that exists, and again, this is just an example, I don't want to get off on a tangent, but the automation that exists now allows for small businesses like small local coffee shops and flower shops, bakeries, things like that, to actually engage in marketing programs or marketing initiatives that are just as good as some business that may have 500 or so employees. So those are the things that I want to try to bring. Vision, so I'll kind of hit on these things a little bit. Vision, first of all, so a lot of small businesses, you got into business, if you're a small business owner, you got into business because you're a technician. You're very good at painting, for instance. But because you're good at painting, because you're good at painting, you can do a really good job at it, you start a painting business. Well, now that painting business has grown, and there are things that you're having to do in that business that you did not sign up for, or you didn't want to originally do. You're having to do payroll now, you have to do financial forecasting, you have to worry about marketing, getting your name out there, bringing in new work, sales stuff. These are all things that you did not really want to do. What you enjoyed was painting, was going and estimating a job and seeing what it would cost to do it, and doing a good job, like being able to understand the compounds that you're using and things like that, being knowledgeable in your field. So what those other different responsibilities that fell into your lap, oftentimes what they do is they cause you a lot of stress and a lot of heartache. And so that's very easy then to kind of grow bitter towards your business, or just feel like you created a job for yourself. It's very difficult for you to ever leave because so many things, rely on you getting them done. So vision is something that when you sit down and you kind of properly plan out, okay, how is this business supposed to serve me? Because that's really what it's all about. You created this business to be a vehicle to take you from A to B, whether that was one day you wanted to be able to not have to work anymore and the business ran by itself and you were just able to make money and spend time with your family and friends, or maybe you would only have to do the aspects of the business that you liked, but you're not there right now. So what I want to bring to this table when I help people with vision is identifying where is the destination that you want to get to, okay, and then we reverse engineer from there. Okay, where's reality at? Here's where we want to get to. How can we practically start taking steps now to get to here? So I'm going to talk a lot on this podcast, a lot about vision and how you can implement it in your small business in a way that is realistic and practical and achievable. So kind of moving on to operations. So with operations, this is the logistics. These are the nuts and guts and bolts of your business. How do you go about providing a consistent product, or how do you go about keeping your employees informed of what you want? How do you go about making sure that they do what you want consistently and that there's accountability? How do they know who to ask about XYZ problem to in your company? Who do they go to for this? Who do they go to for that? Those operations, it's so easy for things to get cluttered and muddled in a small business, because when it's a small business, the great thing about everybody, hopefully, is that they're all pitching in to try to get things done, to try to keep the business afloat, to try to make money. What happens though when everyone's pitching in, when everyone's responsible for something, no one's responsible for it. So when something fails or something goes wrong in your business, there's no one for you to correct or to place blame on, not for to play the blame game, but rather to understand where things went wrong and how we can fix it and prevent it from happening again. And so when you don't have accountability in your business and things like that, then you're going to have those types of things slip through the cracks. So that's what I'm talking about with operations. Is I want to try to help talk about, like, how, should we have meetings? Should we be having meetings on our team? If so, how many meetings, or what kind of meetings? How long should they be? What should they look like? How do we hire somebody? How do we try to make sure that we get good talent in here rather than just hiring so-and-so's sister or so-and-so's mom or friend or something like that? How do we, once they're hired, how do we get them on board? How do we make sure that they start producing an ROI as soon as possible? There's a lot of different things that we can talk about when it comes to operations, and that's what I'm really excited about getting into with this podcast, is because there will be I have many episodes to talk about all these different things. So lastly then, just to touch on, is tools. I want to talk about tools. What are the tools that will help you and your small business succeed? So there are a lot of things out there. You might Google, we need a CRM, a customer relationship management, platform, something to help track your leads from leads to actual sales being made. And so which ones do you pick? There's so many out there. Everyone knows about Salesforce, but Salesforce seems too expensive or too big. You talk with sleazy salesmen on the phone, or you get people that pitch you on stuff, and you just don't really think you need all that. How do you pick the right tools for your business? That's what I want to talk about on this podcast as well. Or what are the tools that are out there, and which ones are the ones that might be right for your business and your situation. So I hope that this has all made some sense and is kind of giving you maybe some intrigue into the things I'm going to be talking about on on the show. And so if you are listening on a podcast, you can also see there's a YouTube version of this where I have my fancy schmancy whiteboard in the background where you can see this state-of-the-art studio that I'm in right now, and get the visual aspect of this as well. So there will be times that I use the marker board. I'm very, very big on being visual. And so if you are listening to this on a podcast and you hear me reference anything about the marker board, you should check me out on YouTube. Yeah, that's about it. I guess I'll give you a kind of heads up that these episodes, I'm going to shoot for them to be between 5 and 20 minutes long. Never longer than 20 minutes. I know how valuable your time is. So I want to make sure that I'm delivering high impact, high value to you in under 20 minutes. And every episode is going to have takeaways, except for this one. This is the introduction. Although I may be able to think of one takeaway, which is subscribe to this podcast and subscribe to this YouTube channel. But that said, I'm going to have practical takeaways. So that way when you listen to one of these, you know that there's something that's going to come out of it. It may not necessarily be applicable to you right now in your current situation or your business, but you will know that I will have something at the end of each episode where it's like, here's what you can go and do now with the information that I'm giving you. So anyways, thanks again so much for listening. I really appreciate you tuning in, and please provide me as much feedback as possible. I would love to talk about all these different things that I've noticed throughout my career so far, but more importantly, what are the questions that you guys have that I can help with as someone who's been working with small businesses for a long time now, and who has a genuine interest in the nuances of small business and helping them solve those problems that are kind of unique to them. So anyways, thanks again for tuning in. Hope to see you next time. Thanks.